You're listening to the Let's Be Real podcast. Now, here's your host, Andy Hughes.
Our next guest is a former professional hockey player who won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1991 and 1992. After Pittsburgh, he went on to play with the New York Rangers and Ottawa Senators before retiring from playing hockey in 2000. Currently, he is the Penguins color commentator on the radio network, working alongside Hockey Hall of Famer Mike Lang. We're very excited to welcome Phil Bourque to the Let's Be Real podcast. Bourque, thank you for joining us. How's your summer going so far?
Thank you, Andy. I enjoy always talking to you. And to be quite honest and frank about it, my summer's been painfully long with the Penguins being swept in the first round by the New York Islanders. That's not really something we've become accustomed to here, so it makes for an extra long summer. It allows me to spend a little more time with my kids, but I can't wait for the puck to drop again.
I had a feeling you were going to bring up the Penguins there, and that's exactly what I expected. And you know, one of the things that I really like about you, and when I listen to you, you're so passionate about the game of hockey. You love that game of hockey. Where did that love and passion begin? Like, when did you start to, fall in love with the game of hockey when you're in your life?
Yeah, try to follow along because my answer is kind of all over the map. I grew up outside of Boston, about 40 minutes in a small town of Chelmsford, Mass. And, of course, big Bruins fans back in the day. And we had some brutally cold winters. So my dad, who went to Boston College and played both football and baseball there, couldn't even stand up on a pair of skates. But he had a buddy who went public skating one day and said, "Hey, why don't I bring your kid along with me?" And I was 3 years old at the time. He said, he put a pair of double runner rental skates on me, and he said I was like a fish to water. He said he'd never seen anything like it before, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And that's kind of where it all started. My dad ended up flooding the driveway. He would hook the hose up, he'd thaw the hose out, and he would flood the driveway. And I'd be out there from the time I'd wake up to the time I went to sleep, and I just couldn't get enough of it. When I started playing youth hockey, I used to sleep with my equipment on the night before a game. And if my parents would have let me, I would have put my skates on too. But I don't know. It's just a burning desire I have to be around the game of hockey. And I'm so incredibly blessed to not only have a playing career with the Penguins, but now to have a second career and to be a broadcaster with the Penguins. I've also learned that it isn't always what you say, but how you say it. So if you really feel strongly about something, speak your mind, speak your opinion, be tasteful and professional about it, but speak from the heart.
That's great advice. And some people may not be aware that you were undrafted and signed as a free agent by the Penguins in 1982. How hard was that journey to get to the National Hockey League?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I was told I had an agent. I was told I was going to get drafted by the agent who was at the draft in Montreal. And make a long story short, I, as you mentioned, I did not get drafted, but I didn't have a plan B because I had left Massachusetts to go play junior hockey up in Canada, which meant I burnt my amateur eligibility to play college hockey. So I didn't have a plan B, Andy. Luckily, I got two phone calls, one from the Pittsburgh Penguins, one from the Boston Bruins, from their head scout, and just gave me an invite to training camp. And so that's where it was. It was one of those things where I came to a crossroads where I wasn't going to fail, and obviously I picked the Pittsburgh Penguins over the Boston Bruins, and that's another long story. We don't have enough time to talk about why I took the Penguins over the Bruins, but I didn't have a plan B, and so I kind of got to that crossroads where either you get a contract here and you start your pro career, or you drag your butt back to Boston and try to find a job. And I really had no kind of training at all because, like I said, I was all in on hockey by going up to Canada to play junior hockey.
Very interesting. And how hard was the journey once you got the contract and everything, going through the minor leagues and everything? How hard was the journey to finally get to the top of the mountain there in a way to get to the National Hockey League?
Yeah, it was really difficult because, to be quite, and looking back now on it all, I was a little bit of my own worst enemy. That I was kind of living la vida loca, so to speak. That I was having fun being a single professional athlete. And I didn't train as hard. I didn't take my job serious enough. And, I was a work hard, play hard guy. And I finally got some good advice that, hey, if you want to make it to the NHL and you're tired of riding buses as I was for the first 5 or 6 years of my career, you got to go all in. And I had to take my training, the way I ate, the way I lived my life, completely 180 degrees, which I did, and things ended up turning for me. So as much as I had fun just being a pro athlete, riding the buses and playing in the American Hockey League is a very, very humbling experience. I think every NHL player should spend a little time down there just to feel that little bit of uncomfortableness. And then also when you get to the bigs, you appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, you just mentioned you appreciate it a lot more. I feel like that tough journey probably made it more rewarding when you think back, in the end, knowing what you accomplished.
100%. 100%. And then to win the Stanley Cup. And, there was a lot of people, and I think everybody's journey is a little bit different, but I think somewhere along your journey, you've had somebody say, oh, you'll never make it, or you're not good enough, or you're not fast enough, or not strong enough, or not smart enough, whatever. I had a lot of people say that about me. And so I turned that around and used that as fuel for my fire. Every time I thought about sleeping in late and not going to the gym, or not skating, or not working out, or doing what I had to do, those little reminders of people who doubted me always fueled my fire. So, I think everybody has a story like that, and I don't think you should allow anybody to tell you you can't live your dream. And that was my dream, was to get to the NHL and hopefully win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's a great message. And you worked with some outstanding leaders throughout your life, including some hockey legends. Who were some of the leaders that really stood out to you, and what did they do to make a difference?
That's interesting. You're right. I've been around some great leaders, and not necessarily just players, some coaches too. And, the first person that comes to mind when you talk about coaches is Badger Bob Johnson, because he was the most positive. I don't think I ever heard him swear. Coach that always saw the glass half full. Every day was a bright, sunny day, and he had an unbelievable passion for life and for the game of hockey. You go to a guy right after that, like Scotty Bowman, who was a completely different character. That he was more of, I'm the coach, you're the player. I don't want to be your buddy. I'll see you at the finish line. A lot of people would think, well, why isn't he talking about Mario Lemieux? Mario was a great leader, but not the leader or type of leader that you would expect. He wasn't a rah-rah guy. He was more a lead-by-example guy, a man of very few words. But the two players that I played with were probably the greatest leaders that had the influence on me. The greatest influence on me was Paul Coffey and Brian Trottier, because they said the right things at the right time. If they challenged you as a person, they were always challenging themselves to be better also. So that's one thing I learned, that if you want to be in a winning environment, you have to help whether it's your coworker or your teammate, you have to hold them accountable, but also hold yourself accountable too. And so that's a fine line to walk, to try to coach somebody up to make them better, when you better make sure your house is squeaky clean too, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that was interesting, too, about those teams, you, Bob Airey, and Troy Loney, you all played the same position. So in a sense, people would think, oh, they're competing against each other. But I heard you talk about this before, that it seemed like all of you guys were supporting each other as well. How important is that to have a team-first attitude in order to have success?
Well, you're right on the money. That's a big reason why we won Stanley Cups, because if we were trying to undermine each other for, to get ice time, or, you didn't want that guy to succeed because he was going to get more ice time, or, he'll be up playing with Mario, that, that's pretty selfish, and so you have to kind of put your own, whether it's stats or numbers, kind of put them on the back burner for the better of the team. And sometimes that's tough to do. But if you want to succeed and be a champion and get to your ultimate goal, then you have to kind of lock arms, and everybody's got to kind of pull in the right direction, and you have to help that person be a better player if you're in that team environment. If you don't like that environment, then I always say go play golf or tennis, because then it's all on you and you don't have to count on anybody else. But when you're in a team environment, whether it's in work or in sports, then you got to help the guy that's right next to you, even though you might be, have the same position, or you might be fighting for the same accolades or whatever, that it's got to be all for one for all.
Absolutely, and I think the interesting thing with sports is, especially hockey, there's so many different roles that are so important. For the first line, guys are great, but in the playoffs, you need the third or the fourth line to step up, maybe pitch in with a big goal. And really, I feel like in any business or anything, I always try to deliver that no matter what your role is, you can be a leader. It doesn't really matter what role you can be at. You can always be a leader and try to encourage people to get better, and have that team first attitude.
No, great point. And if you want to have success, you have to get outside your comfort zone. And that's not, I'm not necessarily saying be something or somebody you are completely not. But when your heart is telling you, or that little voice is telling you, this is really what you should be doing, this is what the right thing to do, more times than not, that little voice is right. It's telling you the right thing to do. Just a lot of people don't follow through on it because it's too much outside their comfort zone. But if you want to have success, you have to do that. And again, whether it's challenging a coworker or a teammate, or challenging yourself to work harder, get up earlier, stay later, whatever it might be, to do the dirty work, a lot of the work that other people aren't willing to do, that's where success really starts right there, is with work ethic. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't have talent and work, and you're right, you mentioned the muckers and the grinders, the third and fourth line guys, those guys need to get outside their comfort zone as much as anybody, because that's what makes a team complete.
Absolutely. And getting back to what you talk a lot about on the post-game show, you mentioned a lot when there's young guys coming up. You mentioned that they shouldn't be too comfortable when they get there. Yes, there's an adjustment period, but you also want to really make a difference. How important is that? Maybe when somebody starts a new role with a company, for example, how important is it to just have that attitude of let's get better every day and not get too comfortable? Because I think that could easily happen because, in one way you're saying, I reached my goal, I'm in the NHL, but now what? Now you have to really just make a difference for the team in order for the team to be successful.
Yeah, well said. I kind of try to live my life by this motto of when preparation meets opportunity, that's when you have success. So when that opportunity knocks and that door gets open just a little bit, you have to take your boot and you got to kick it wide open, because those opportunities might not come around again. And you just don't want to go through life with regret. The years down the road, you say, man, what a chance I had to do something great, or what an opportunity, and I wasted it. You don't want to be that person. So I just think that when you have a chance, don't sit on your hands and hope and wish that something great happens. Make it happen, and surround yourself with winners. Surround yourself, if you're not sure what to do, then surround yourself with people that do know what to do, and ask a lot of questions. And I don't know, it's probably easier said than done, but really, I just hate to go through life looking in the rearview mirror saying, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that. That you got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the flip side too, you would know this better than anybody. It's still important to appreciate and celebrate those accomplishments for a bit, right? I mean, I know yes, when there's a new season, everybody resets to zero, everybody's 0-0 at the end, but it's also important to celebrate your accomplishments.
Yeah, and I've been guilty of celebrating a little bit too much sometimes. But yeah, you got to make it fun too. And I think, sometimes in life we get caught up in our jobs and we're so, life, there's a lot of stresses in life, whether it's with family that bleeds over into your job or job that bleeds over into your family, that we got to remember to smile, remember to have a good time. And when you do have success, yeah, enjoy it and celebrate. But, there's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And that's probably why you see when players win the Stanley Cup, there's just it brings them to tears, grown men to tears, because of all the work and everything that's gone into it. So that's what makes it all worth it, though. So, yeah, I agree with you that don't be afraid to have fun. Don't be afraid to celebrate and work hard, play hard, but you need to have a nice balance of each.
Absolutely. Definitely need a balance. And Bourque, during your playing career, getting back to that a little bit, you played left wing and defense, which are obviously very different positions. How did that experience with both positions help you succeed? Was there any advantages that you saw knowing that you kind of you played in both of those positions?
No, Andy, it was huge to be versatile, because you kind of put yourself on the other side of it, whether it's the boss of a company or a head coach of a team. That if you've got a versatile employee or player, that when you're making out your lineup card, you're like, I think I need that guy. I need that guy. And yeah, I grew up as a defenseman, but to make it to the NHL, I had to shift to wing. And I don't know why. I think probably because my dad pushed me so hard as a kid to play both positions and to learn both positions, that when I got to the NHL or got to the pros, that it was seamless for me. I actually enjoyed when a coach would, during a game, would tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, I need you to play defense. Tap me again, say, hey, I need you to go back and play forward. I enjoyed those challenges. So yeah, that versatility absolutely helped me get my foot in the door and helped me hang around long enough to establish myself in the league.
That's awesome. And after your playing career, you jumped right into broadcasting, working with Mike Lang and a lot of other people. What were some of the lessons that you learned in the broadcasting industry? I've watched some interviews as you and a player. You've always been a great talker, but I mean, I feel like, what did you have to learn within the broadcasting industry when you started that?
Well, first of all, I don't mean to correct you, but actually I wish it was a seamless transition from player to broadcaster, but I actually, Andy, went 3 years without working. I thought I was actually interviewed for the television job before Eddie Olczyk got it. And 3 years went by without me working, which was probably the most humbling time of my life, of going without a paycheck for 3 years. But finally, thanks to Mario Lemieux, he gave me an opportunity to be the radio broadcaster. And I'll be quite honest with you, the advice that I got from Mike Lang, my radio partner, the Hall of Famer, has been invaluable. Really, it just how to use, again, how not always what you say, but how you say it, passion and energy, and prepare yourself. That's another thing. If you want to be a really good broadcaster, that you have to be prepared for any that comes your way. And especially in game. So I love talking about the game of hockey. I love talking about the Penguins. So hopefully, I don't know how many more years I'm going to be able to do this, but I'm 57 now. So if I could do it for another 15 years, I'd be happy as could be.
I certainly would be too. You do an awesome job, and this was awesome, Bourque. Thanks again for joining us. Really looking forward to hearing you again this upcoming season. Hopefully a little bit of a longer season this year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one there. If we can get into May or June, that would be awesome. Look for ring number 6. I enjoyed this, man. It was fun.
Thank you, Bourque. Always appreciate it.